Over the past several months, the user ThunderFoot has been vocal in his opposition to certain proposed sexual harassment policies at secular conferences. He made a string of videos several months ago in which he made fair and reasonable points. He said that certain people were blowing the issue out of proportion and that addressing the issue might be redundant and cost too much in legal fees and effort, and also that most of the harassment was happening away from the conferences at the bars afterwards.
Put simply, typically the less bureaucratic paperwork associated with these conferences, the better for everyone. Less legal fees in getting them written. Less overhead in getting everyone running the conference to know the guidelines and getting the attendees to read them.
In spite of the overall negative reaction that he got from many people, I actually think that at that point in the discussion, he was pretty reasonable and sensible about everything. When he was kicked off Free Thought blogs, I was on his side, essentially. I do not agree with their decision to dismiss him from Free Thought blogs. But then he made a second series of videos in which he tipped off into hypocrisy land. He titled the videos, "Why Feminism," in quotes, "is poisoning atheism."
The secular community can achieve great things, but it will never achieve anything while it has poison like this being dripped into its heart.
In his first set of videos, ThunderFoot emphasized putting sexual harassment into perspective by examining its scope and impact. It's curious, then, that he would launch into this tirade against feminists without really putting the problem itself into perspective. He claims that feminists are poisoning atheism, and yet many of his own statements undermine his point of view. He claims that feminists are ruining secular conferences with restrictive guidelines.
For my part, I've watched with despair as these ultra-PC professional victims have slowly dripped poison into what used to be a vibrant and exciting conference scene.
And yet he states quite clearly that he thinks these conferences are marginal.
Indeed, to a large degree, the conference scene is mostly redundant. A large conference pulls in a couple of thousand people. And in terms of viewership, a mediocre channel such as mine pulls in several tens of thousands of video views. Then, of course, many of these lectures are repeated from conference to conference, and virtually all of them are available online. Put simply, if your primary focus is on the conference scene, then in the internet age, it's probably misplaced.
It's like he's saying, feminists are a big problem at secular conferences, which in turn don't really matter that much, which is why feminists are a huge problem for atheism at large. Where he was once the person who going after people for blowing situations out of proportion, now he is targeting a handful of people and holding them up as a danger to the entire movement, when in fact they are a marginal group in a marginal part of the movement and, by his own admission, have no real pull on the internet, which is what he claims matters.
The internet is where religions come to die, especially the viral media like YouTube.
In fact, this is such a big deal for him that he is willing to let this thing evolve into some sort of full-blown schism.
I'm a solid believer in the big tent approach, and that civil wars, the ones that always kill more of your guys than any others, should be avoided at all costs. But this poisonous splinter has worked itself in so far, it's become so distracting, so diversionary, that I now fully support the earlier call from the Atheist Plus movement for all of you crazy feminists to join their completely socially progressive movement. Yeah, you do that. You organize your own conferences, your Atheism Plus style conferences, where you will be happier.
What's personally strange for me about this situation is that it's ThunderFoot who keeps bringing it to my attention. I do not personally attend these conferences. I do not read these blogs. And so I wouldn't have to hear about these people if not for ThunderFoot.
Hell, I've been pining back to the happier days when I actually knew who none of these people were.
I second that, but it is ThunderFoot who keeps bringing these people to my attention.
The only conclusion that I can come to is that this is less about some sort of righteous crusade and more about Thunderfoot.
It's Thunderfoot who's bringing the issue to the internet where it really matters, because apparently the people he's arguing against are otherwise completely marginal online.
Thankfully, these PC bullies really cannot get much purchase on the open forum of free speech. That is, on YouTube, these thin-skinned whiners are an utter non-event.
The point I'm getting at here is that I think that Thunderfoot is in need of taking his own advice.
Accurate assessment of the problem is the first step in moving towards an appropriate solution.
So this is apparently a small group of people he's going after who have an impact on a conference scene which itself is marginal. Again, small problem, big reaction.
So the full scope of the problem is a minority of a minority. As such, do you really think that this is a priority target where you would get the best bang for your buck in terms of focusing hard-won resources or focusing the attention of the online community?
Given that his target is smaller than he is presenting it to be, a handful of people are poisoning atheism, perhaps he should reconsider his own efforts.
Choose your goals, prioritize them according to importance, and focus what resources you can marshal upon them. This is how you will be most effective at achieving your goals. It's not rocket science.
How important of a goal should this be, given this is a small minority group within a marginal part of the movement? In conclusion, I think Thunderfoot puts it best himself.
Many of those who are actually in the secular community and spending a disproportionate amount of their time haggling over trivialities really should get a grip.